OpenAI just put out their Cursor competitor, a subscription that lets you do AI coding in whatever editor you choose. You'll never guess what they called it. Yeah, they named it Codex again. They're so bad at naming, but this does actually seem really promising. They put out an IDE extension, the ability to hop between local environment and cloud for your agents, which is something I've been wanting for a long time now. Proper built-in code review on GitHub, as well as rebuilding the Codex CLI, this time in Rust. I told them not to do it. They didn't listen. They had some good reasons and mostly bad ones. Regardless, there's a lot to dig into here. All of a sudden, your ChatGPT subscription can do all of these different things. It's very interesting when you consider the history of OpenAI, where they almost bought Windsurf and then didn't due to the IP deals with Microsoft. Then they started working closely with Cursor for the GPT-5 launch. Now they're doing this. This seems like, once again, OpenAI trying really hard to appeal to developers, but they always have mixed success with that. And I'm very curious to throw some of my tests at this and see how good it is. At the very least, I can finally make some use of that $200 a month subscription that I keep forgetting to cancel because it's fun playing with new OpenAI stuff. But all that aside, I'm excited to dive into all of this with you guys. I've probably spent $2,000 on that subscription because I keep forgetting. And I know you guys like to support me, but I'm not going to ask y'all to foot the bill for my forgetfulness. So I'll ask today's sponsor to do it instead. I'm kind of going through it, guys. I'm about to have surgery on my left hand, and I won't be able to type very much for a while. And that's why today's sponsor is increasingly exciting to me. Vapi is building voice agents for developers, making it way easier to add voice to all of your services, be it a little button on the page, a phone call being placed to a user, or whatever else you want to do with voice. We may like typing as developers, but our users, they like voice more and more. And I know this because we're getting flamed for not having it in T3 chat. Need to fix that soon. And if we do fix it, there's a very good chance Vapi is the partner that we'll be using to do it. As soon as you see how simple the code is, I think you'll understand. They have SDKs for pretty much everything you would want to use for building applications, but I'm going to focus on the TypeScript one because let's be real, this is why you guys are here. Look at how easy it is to create a phone call from the server. Having set up some phone bots recently, when I look at this, I'm just drooling and I need to move them over because Vapi has this so much better. You define your client, you write your system prompt, you then create a support assistant, specify models. They have a lot of good recommendations about models. You'd be surprised how important latency is more than anywhere else for this. So the smartest model might not be what you want, and you almost certainly don't want a reasoning model either. You can choose between all of the different voices that they have. You can even bring your own from other places, and then choose the first message that's sent, or programmatically write it yourself. It's just a string. And now that you have the assistant, you can make the phone call. You can create a phone number in their dashboard, attach your assistant to the phone number, and now you can programmatically make calls. Vapi.calls.create, you pass it the assistant that you created, you pass it the ID for the phone number that you have assigned, and then you pass it the phone number that you want to call. That easy. It's so nice being able to do something as complex as an AI back and forth phone call that you can talk to with just a couple lines of code. When you build AI voice agents, it's really important to get the prompts right and the context right. Thankfully, these guys know that, and they have a ton of tooling and references to help you do just that. They even have guides on how to bring user information in to make the agents more personal so that when you get a call, it fits the vibe better of the person getting the call. If you're trying to build the best possible experience with AI and voice, look no further. Check them out today at soydev.link/Vapi. Codex is getting more and more confusing because Codex used to be a model. Now it is a CLI. Then they put out codex.chatgpt.com, which is their background agent Devon style thing. And now it's part of your subscription and is also a thing in your terminal. The delegating to cloud part's really good, especially if you can use your local environment to know how to set up the cloud environment. When I first tried Codex in the cloud, I literally spent 30 minutes copy pasting environment variables over because I couldn't paste it all in at once. And I shit you not, the page crashed before I could submit and I had to redo the whole thing. It was the worst. I roasted them so hard for that shit. Now we have Codex in my IDE. Cursor. I could put it in Windsurf. I could put it in VS Code. Seemed like they had a lot of options actually when I clicked this. Yeah, Windsurf, VS Code Marketplace, Cursor, Codex Web, lots of options. Now we have it installed. Next, hand off to cloud. Cool. To-dos in the Codex tasks. Powered by my ChatGPT account. Cool. These are all tasks for a different project, so I don't think it's smart enough to know the difference there. Cool. Well, let's grab my prompt for Image Studio. Cool. You have agent mode, little drop down. You can change agent full access, and it does not let me actually see what it says on the side. If the sidebar too small, it's fine. You can choose between minimal, low, medium, and high reasoning. Local or running cloud. I don't like you have to go hit buttons for all these things, but it's new. They'll probably make hotkeys in the future. Let's give it a go with zero context, just clicking. Let's see how it does. This is a brand new Next.js app I just spun up. We'll see how it figures things out and how it behaves. Okay, setting up Tailwind, configuring the dark mode. Don't like that it's set up Tailwind multiple times. I'll do the second time. Set our source app components instead of cluttering page TSX. Modify global for dark theme specifically. Cool. I actually like the UX of this quite a bit, like having these parts just as bullet points instead of just giant dumps of text, and you can click on one to get more detail. UX is good. There's a lot of little things broken about the extension. See how it's cut off there and you can't even see the text? Like, not just here to glaze. There's going to be problems. I'm excited to see how it does. Now, they have their own custom view for the changes that doesn't follow my syntax highlighting. That's kind of gross. Command minus to see more. Oh God, the reflow was awful. They did something weird in custom here. I don't like that. Did it npm install during this or something? Why does it think there's multiple lock files? That's strange. I'll ignore that. Let's see how it looks. Came out stunning. I still really love how GPT-5 subtle gradients work. Not the ugly ass gradients for these like fake images, but the red and blue black in the background is phenomenal. The cards actually make sense. Space is used well. It's a good starting point. How's the responsiveness? Pretty solid as well. Great start. What I'm more curious about, though, is the background agent bit. Because the flow between the background agents and cloud setup versus by local setup has always been fucking garbage. I want to fix that. So let's see how it does. We're going to gh repo create. As I mentioned before, I'm on the $200 tier for OpenAI, but this supposedly all works with the $20 tier too. We'll look into the rate limits in a bit. I just want to see this working first. I kind of want to try their CLI first, because I've heard good things, that it made a lot of progress. So let's try that first. Reinstall the global, open Codex, allow Codex to work here. Let's give it the same prompt I just gave. Looks good so far. Do they have like a built-in scroll solution? Nope, up arrow does that. Do I have to, because it's not a windowed CLI. I have to use my like solution that exists in my Tmux. It's pretty Tmux friendly, which is nice. A lot of these solutions are not Tmux friendly for fucking shit. So that's cool. I've actually been quite annoyed at how many of these solutions, even something like a Turbo Repo's multi-viewer for having 3 dev commands running at once, breaks Tmux so bad. While this is going, I'm going to do the same thing with Claude. I'll pasting the same prompt. We'll let that run with Claude code and see how the results compare. The Codex one's pretty slow. We're 2 minutes in. Definitely prefer Claude's UI. They're both fine, though. I like what the OpenAI Codex one's going for, but it doesn't feel as flushed out as Claude Code does. Cool. Control C to quit. Take a look at how this runs. Very good job. CSS broke. Okay, let's see what went wrong with the CSS quick. It's because you can't apply glass. That did it, but the glass style isn't applying anymore. So anywhere we're using .card, we need to go apply that. That's annoying. And that makes it look how it's supposed to, but yeah, that was disappointing. Did not do very good. I thought outApply worked in a way it didn't. Meanwhile, Claude is getting errors just doing basic file edits. While that's going, let's bring Codex back up. So I'm going to tell it to implement the Fal.ai implementation for image gen with, we'll go pick a model. If you guys aren't already familiar, Fal's the shit. Fal's a sponsor. I haven't done a video with them in a bit, but probably will in the future. They just make it way easier to implement AI media gen stuff. So image to video, image to image, text to image, audio stuff, everything. And they have APIs for all of it. Let's look at text to image. We'll tell it to implement 3 models. How about that? Let me go grab an API key first. I know a Fal key. We'll tell it that. Implement the image generation. Pick the top 3 image gen models from Fal.ai and implement it using their SDK. I have already provided a Fal key in the environment variables. Let me send that. I want to run the dev server for the Claude version quick while that's going. Oh, it's weird that it's going up directories for the bun lock. That is strange. I know how to fix that. Here's the beautiful, stunning Claude version for reference. Looks like they also fucked up the Tailwind file. I do not know why Anthropic models love to add their own CSS resets when Tailwind has one. I thought it was supposed to be good at Tailwind. I have to go unfuck all their CSS whenever they do anything. And now that I did, it looks, I won't say it looks good, but it looks. Oh, I forgot to come back here and approve. I'll give it the always, the dangerous thing you're not supposed to do, where you just tell it to do whatever it wants whenever it wants. See how long it takes to implement all this. Did we get an implementation timeline on Anthropic? 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Okay, so it's not much faster. It normally is faster for me. That's annoying. 63 cents of cost for that. Are you fucking me? God, I don't do Claude models anymore. It had to read 1 million tokens for that. Are you fucking me? Why do you have to read 1 million tokens to generate a shipped UI and not even have it work? Yeah, the GPT-5 version objectively looks best. Anybody who says otherwise doesn't have eyes. But the implementation speed is a thing of note. It's fun having the ability to head-to-head between these. I don't like that the GPT-5 model really likes to try and run build commands that doesn't need to. I'll deal with build issues. Let's see how I did with this. This is implementing image gen. I'm very curious how it succeeded or failed for this. Flux One Pro, Dev, and Schnell. It's interesting. It picked all Flux models and not OpenAI models. I'm guessing this is hydration fail. Very interesting. Fun. I'll ask it to fix that later. Corgi riding a skateboard in San Francisco. It worked. It actually implemented the full image gen. That's actually really cool. I did not know if it would go that far. Let's look at the code. I want to give them an audit. See how safe it is or is not. Okay, what are the type errors this is mad about? Oh, they put an any in. AI models certainly love their any. API generate route. Process environment file key. Cool, it did that right. Number of images is 4 by default. Wait, file run. Enable safety checker. Harmless if ignored. Cool. Result. If it's an array, otherwise it's an image. I don't like how they did the types, but that works. Makes sense. It's showing the URLs in the UI. Obviously, it's going to break if you refresh because there's no state management here yet. But they did it. It works. It's actually quite cool. Let's play with some of these other things and see if they work. Let's do 16 by 9 and Corgi hacker in a dimly lit room. We'll tell it to go neon noir vibes. Oh no, we got errors. What are the errors? That's the error I care about. Generation failed. Not found. Okay, that's not the right slug for that model. Yeah, that's an easy to make mistake. Let's try again. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I'm not going to lie. The fact that it could pull together this so quickly is dope. Shame history doesn't work. Do we go all the way out? Do I tell it to implement the history feature and pick whatever it wants to use? Let's go all the way. The history feature does not appear to work. Can you fix it? Oh, here we go. If you want history to persist across page reloads, I can add it to local storage syncing and a clear history button. That's a good call out because it was just something wrong with the code. I'm guessing it was mad about the way the images were rendering. I would like it to persist regardless of which browser I'm using. No need to set up auth yet, but would be nice to store in the cloud. And we've used significantly fewer tokens than Claude did. The gap's kind of insane. It's going to give us a breakdown of all the different databases we can use. I'm actually very curious to see what it chooses as the options here. Cool. It wants to use the Blob SDK for storing the files. I want upload thing. I would prefer upload thing. What about the database, though? This is funny. I actually made a benchmark on which models are the most likely to recommend upload thing, and it is straight up a straight line based on how intelligent the model is. It's more likely to recommend our service upload thing, which I thought was really funny. The models that do it the most aggressively are Claude Opus and GPT-5. So take that as you will. Seems like the smartest AI models realize upload things is the best way to upload files in your Next.js app. Do you really think you know better than they do? Interesting that it picked Terso. Yeah, it did add upload thing /server, which is a sub-dep of the upload thing package. You can just install upload thing. Apparently, upload thing is implemented in a way that is optional for durable image URLs. Every time I go to the Terso dashboard, it looks entirely different, I swear. Image gen codex test. Groups, cool. Default group it is. if this all worked. I only did the database. I didn't do upload thing yet. I'm just curious. This is running still. So let's go give it a shot. Corgi on a skateboard. Balanced 1-1. Generate. And now the test. Refresh. And they're all still here. Look at that. It successfully implemented the database and persistence. Yeah, there are now rows in this DB. That's pretty cool. The fact that I just built a whole AI image gen studio without writing any code other than changing a dash to a slash and deleting one thing that it put in the fucking CSS global file. I only deleted code and replaced one character. I didn't write anything here. Pretty nuts. Yeah, it's just gotten way too good. And if I add more image gens, yeah, it's all add in. Not the best generations, but that's because I picked FluxDev. Still blown away. Didn't implement auth or any of those other things yet, but you can see the history here. Explorers doesn't do anything yet. Makes sense. A lot better than I would have expected for me just giving it vague instructions. Cool. So let's take a look at the limitations, because I did just find the page for how much usage you get with Codex. So for Plus, Team, Enterprise, and Educational users, the average user can send 30 to 150 messages every 5 hours with a weekly limit. Okay. And for Cloud tasks, you get generous limits for a limited time. But the Pro, which is their $200 a month, you get 300 to 1,500 messages every 5 hours. And again, Cloud is generous for a limited time. They claim this is enough for your full workday across multiple projects. All Vibes Trust tests the shit out of that, sure. Let's try the Cloud portion, because that's one of the things I'm most curious about here. Get status. Okay, so again, for the comparison, total token usage was 58K, around 59K actually, for all that. There was 430,000 cash tokens hit. In comparison with Claude, for doing the shit UI at the start exclusively, 900K cash read, 50K cash write. Total token usage was worse, and the cost, because I don't have the pro plan for Claude, I'm just paying API costs. Spent 63 cents on a shit UI. Yeah, I don't get the Claude Code thing anymore. I haven't for a bit. I've heard it's been getting worse over time. Why not 4.1? I just used Claude Code. I didn't select anything on either of these tools. I use Claude Code as it comes by default. Could I have forced it to be more expensive and generate something just as bad? Sure. I didn't. Cool. Persistence is now committed. Let's hop back to Cursor so we can try their background agents. Now let's do a new task. Switch to run in cloud. With an environment settings. Oh, I have to go create the environment, of course. Next, Image Studio Codex test. Cool. And again, the shitty secret setup. It'd be cool if they told you the difference between environment variables and secrets. Okay, they fixed the thing where you can paste an environment variable file at least. Can't show it because I want to leak said environment variables. But we now have a setup environment. Now back over to Codex, select an environment. There we go. We now have an environment. It auto-selected once it loaded. This project has a handful of type errors. Please fix them. And please stop using any. Let's see how it does. I like the parallel times. You can ask it to do multiple at once in the cloud. We can see the task in the cloud. Because again, I'm not running this one on my computer. It's spinning up a container with this dev environment and running it in the cloud. So I could run a bunch of these in parallel and it'll open PRs up on GitHub. Probably not going to be very fast to do this in the background, but it's cool you can have that running while you're also separately working on shit locally. So I have that in the cloud, and locally we can do something else. Like let's have it fix that hydration error locally. Can it take screenshots? Earlier we can take screenshots. It can. Getting the following hydration error. Please fix it. Now this one's running locally while I'm separately in the cloud running other things. Does the CLI have the cloud option? It does not appear to. Interesting. You can only do the cloud option through the website or through the IDE extension. And while that's all running, we have this in the background still. This actually has to make commits because it's going to file a PR, whereas the IDE version is just making changes in your editor. So here we have the changes that were made. Oh God, this view is awful. It's so broken. I get why they wanted to do their own thing, but the thing they did is terrible. Okay, so you replace the seed set. Slice is 0, so it's always 0, and then the use effect on render resets it. That's a fine solution. I personally would prefer to just not render this thing on server at all and only render it on client. This is actually a clever, novel way to get around the hydration error. If you're not familiar with why these errors happen, when you run a React page on the server and on the client, all the code runs. But if we have this math.floor random call on both, then the server and the client are going to render with different values. So now they are not matching HTML pages. The server and the client see something different, and then React gets confused. So what this has done is it moved the setting of that to a random value to happen in a use effect. So by default, the client and the server both start with 0 as the value, but then when this use effect runs, it sets it on client to an actual random value, thereby skirting this potential issue. And I'm sure if I go back now and go to my AI Image Studio and refresh, no more hydration error. Look at that. Pretty cool. And here, this finished. Don't have a test script, so it didn't run that, but it ran the TSC and lint, had no problems. Here it made type definitions. Here it applied the type definitions. Here it's abusing it's only implementing upload thing and only importing upload thing if we have an upload thing secret. That's actually pretty cool. There's some abuse here with class abuse, because we have a way to just pass a URL that it doesn't seem to be aware of. Just insisting on passing the file as a file instead of as a URL. Well, it all seems to be behaving. I don't like that it defined custom types for upload thing server, though. It's the only part I don't like is that it did external type overrides effectively. I get why it's the right way in quotes, but it didn't need to do that. Regardless, if this went right, this should now be on GitHub as a PR. So repos, Next Image Studio Codex test. It did not file it as a PR yet. How do I make it do that? This looks good. Can you file a PR? Okay, that's funny. I hit the ask button and it just like froze the page for a sec. It was doing so good and it falls apart right at the finish line. Good news is this all seems to be fixable, but God, it was so close. If it had just opened the PR there, I would have been like jaw dropped impressed. But now it just seems confused. I'm going to stop it. Go back to the main view here. No, there's a lot of weird UX issues with this web view. Is the expectation since I spun this up through the IDE that I close it through the IDE as well? Because if so, that's stupid. So if I go back here, we can see this cloud one ran. And I have access to it and the code changes here. I can apply and continue locally, which is cool. But I wanted a pull request. I also can't see the whole history here now either. I can only see the most recent thing. I can here though. I bet if I go make the exact same change here, that it will file the PR fine. They also have code review as a feature, and I don't care because I'm happy with my code review options. But if you do want an all-in-one that includes code review, it's cool they did that, I guess. I'm gonna close this what's new section. Not necessary for me. This is still thinking about filing a PR. It's been looping for a while. Seems I have a commit, but the tool isn't recognizing it. Let's think. Yeah, this seems like a broken implementation on the IDE plugin for cloud. Hopefully this one works. It'll be very annoying if I can do this properly in the web UI. I can't do it all in the CLI, and the IDE version only works if you pull it back in on the IDE side. It's cool that it gets live updates here. It's annoying as fuck that it got so close and then didn't open the PR. If it had just had error loading task, that wasn't an edit rough cut. I was in the middle of a sentence and it just failed. It's so close. I can taste it. But now I get an error whenever I try to load the task. Jesus Christ. They are right there. They're like right fucking there. We finally got failed. An unknown error occurred after it tried to file a PR for 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay, so with this one, I get a create PR button. With the other one, I started from the editor. I got a copy diff button. It's possible that the editor kickoff wasn't aware that the GitHub repo exists, but that kind of feels like bullshit because I clicked the little button at the bottom for it and everything. So yeah, create PR, view PR. And this time it missed all the fucking type errors. Jesus Christ. It's so close, but it's also so far. This is why tools like Devin are still winning, because their shit, as crazy as it is, it works. Might be more annoying to set up, but it did its job. The amount of little things you have to touch to make something like this work, like just getting the syntax highlighting in the diff view in the UI is really hard. Getting the logs that pass across various different services is really hard. Building an API that works in browser and in editor and potentially in CLI is really hard. Getting this all to cooperate properly with GitHub and the ever-changing target that is the GitHub API is obnoxious. Getting a virtual environment that works for all the different languages and all the different ecosystems people are building within is hard. There are lots of things that make these types of problems hard, and I don't think OpenAI is necessarily equipped to do it. When you have a small slice, like a CLI tool or an editor plugin, they can do that. Once you get to this point where you have to orchestrate it all between the editor experience, the cloud web experience, the chaos that is the diffing system, the absurdity of the GitHub API and synchronizing across that, the virtual environment and sandbox dev instance that is running in the cloud, getting all of this orchestrated properly, it's just not the same thing as making a good LLM. It's kind of similar to like why we're winning with T3 Chat is that our focus is making a really good chat UI. A company that's doing a ton of other shit isn't going to be able to compete with one that is just obsessed with this one thing. This one thing is hard enough that I'm not surprised they can't do it, but I am disappointed because it's so close. It's so close, but it's also so far. Like, I'm going to go clone that exact same thing from that pull request. Let's pull this down locally. My brain is not working. Git stash, git checkout, run, type check. Okay, why is it so mad about the any's? Oh, it's because I never pushed. It's because I never pushed. Tool on me all you want, chat. Get your making fun of me out quick. Now we're going to go try one last time. Oh God, that little copy button's getting, it's like impossible to click. It keeps getting cut off by all the UI. There's all these little things like this. This UI is entirely broken and sucks ass, to be very clear. I'm going to also try kicking off a background agent in the editor again to see if it'll behave properly this time. We're going to use main instead. No, don't use local changes. Use main. Hopefully, this will let me make a PR from this as well, since I'm using the cloud version and the main branch instead of whatever the fuck I was doing on my machine locally. It didn't pop up the new task without a refresh, so they're not live updating this. What a surprise. Syncing is hard. It's almost like sync engines are not an easy problem. It is cool that I can push up code that I haven't pushed up yet with the editor plugin, though. Like, it's cool that it worked at all for that first run because it could use the code I had locally, even if I haven't pushed those changes up yet. Man, if I just spent the last 15 minutes shitting on OpenAI because of a skill issue, you guys better not let me shit on OpenAI ever again, because if I compliment them, I get shit. If I give them shit, it's a skill issue. I'm just getting fucked on all ends here. Oh, that's cool. I just checked my phone. On my phone, I actually have a notification from Codex, phase Zoom for me. That's pretty cool. The fact that it all pops up on my phone while it's running as part of the ChatGPT app, that's where like the bundling and the lock-in is going to start occurring. The fact that like people already have the ChatGPT app means that they can do a full integrated experience without making you go install 15 things across various parts. Also, people who have already signed into GitHub with ChatGPT so they can talk to their repos now have the integration already. It can just switch to filing PRs. There's opportunities here. It's actually a live action, so it appears at the top of my screen. That's really cool. It is showing a loading spinner that's at the very start, though. That's the catch, is it doesn't know how far along it is because it can't. So it just says it's starting still until it's suddenly done. Okay, cool. We now have these both done. This one can still file a PR, which it should be able to, so start from the cloud. This is the real test, though. If I can file a PR from this one. Yes, okay. So you can file a PR as long as you're starting from a branch, not from the state in your local editor. That's the key. The UX does not indicate this anywhere. It is not clear about this fact, but it kind of makes sense because it's possible your editor state is dirty. So when you, by default, just submit something in background, it uses the local dirty state, whatever it is. So if you use that dirty state, you can't file a PR immediately because it's based on your local environment, not based on the current understanding of Git in the cloud. Yet, again, more arguments against Git for AI agents, but yeah, it is what it is. That's cool. The fact that I can go file a PR from here, is there a way for me to file the PR from in IDE though? I can apply the changes and continue locally. I can view the changes in editor, but it does not appear there's a button here for me to file the PR for this change. I have to hop over to the browser to do it. I can just click the Codex Cloud task button, wait for it to load, and then click create PR. But the thing I'm imagining here is, how many times have you been in your editor working on something and you just notice a little thing that kind of pisses you off that you wish you could fix right now, but you're in the middle of some other arc? It happens to me all the time. I'm like refactoring something like, oh, I should fix that. I can't do that right now because I'm working on this. Like the equivalent of cutting an issue, but instead of cutting the issue, it actually goes and files the PR for you. I can, in the background, have this random little annoyance refactored and made into a PR while I'm continuing to do the thing that I'm doing. Chat gets it. That's pretty common, happening to me right now. I'll worry about that later. Yeah, that's what I dig about this. The idea that at any given point, I can take a random thing I noticed and don't feel like cutting an issue for, and don't feel like branching off my current work to go do. Just open this up, say, go do this, get back to work, barely even have to shift context to do it. And now a PR is up that fixes this random annoyance that I discovered while I was working. Whew, I'll be hot. I'll be real into that. Let's tell it to create the PRs. I'll create one for each so we can compare them. Okay, I just refreshed and they aren't appearing yet. It's very slow to file said PRs. Yeah, here we are. Pretty cool. Can't complain. Legitimately can't. I am impressed. It has edges. I hit a lot of them, and I'm sure there are many, many more. But there is actual potential value in this, in the idea of this one subscription that can be a background agent that files PRs, that can run as a CLI tool similar to Claude Code, that can work in all of the VS Code-based editors, that is also my chat app that I can connect to my GitHub account with seemingly generous usage limits. This seems like a compelling option. I am on the $200 a month subscription right now, but apparently everything I've done is within the $20 a month, at least according to their docs. It's impossible to know until you've hit their limits. The one thing I'm most concerned about here, because nobody's as transparent as we are with T3 chat and usage limits, they say you can send 30 to 150 messages every 5 hours. That's a huge range. That's a 5x gap from either side. And that there's a weekly limit. But they don't say what the weekly limit is. And they also say that average users can send 300 to 1500 on Pro every 5 hours, again with a weekly limit. And cloud tasks are measured entirely separately. It seems like they're just going to be generous with cloud until they see what usage looks like, because they don't know how to price any of that. So I'm not going to try the code review part, but the fact that Codex is now a CLI, an editor extension, and model that no one uses anymore, a cloud platform, and a code reviewer is interesting, but I'm impressed. I could actually see myself using this a bit. I hope they fix all the jank, because there's a lot of jank they have to fix, but there's a lot of potential here too. If you're already subscribed to ChatGPT, I'd recommend giving it a shot. If you're not subscribed to ChatGPT, you should check out T3 Chat. It's only $8 a month, and we are very transparent with our limits. You won't get all this cool code stuff, but you get the whole chat experience with every single model. When I say every model, I mean it. And if you haven't already subbed, you can get your first month for $1 with the code not-for-devs. Yes, not for devs, because this is not as useful for devs. It's useful for everything else. For $8, you might be surprised. Cool. That's all I got to cover. I've had my fun. Might be filing some PRs on T3 Chat via Codex. Depends on how good it is at effect. But yeah, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. And it'll be a very fun thing to play with, and I'm curious how y'all feel too. Let me know what you think. Until next time, peace nerds.